Hey guys, it's Parzival. I also go by Will, and I am back with another sort of topic Babble video. I don't really have footage that is long enough currently on my own that isn't being used for something else for this particular topic, so I'm just using this art trade Speedpaint or art trade footage that I recorded. Just as a quick recap, this is not my character. She is a giant and her name is Annette, and she is part of a series of art trades that I did on my DeviantArt. I believe she belongs to Big Uncle V on DeviantArt, or Big Uncle D. I wish I would have checked that before I started recording, but I was not prepared, and she's not really the topic of my video in the first place. She's here because she is the footage that is the longest right now. But I wanted to quickly talk about OCs, and I guess that is a little bit appropriate considering I am doing an art trade of someone else's OC. But regarding OCs, I have noticed that a lot of people, especially people who buy adoptables, want to try and justify using their character in a story or having a story or something like that. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, or a bad thing to have a story for a character or to have a huge expansive world with your characters and stuff like that, because that is a great thing and I'm all for creativity and stuff like that. But I've also felt that sometimes people feel like they have to have a story with their characters, and I feel like this is mostly with, like, not necessarily the entirety of the adoptable community, but the adoptable community that is mostly writers looking for character representations in their work, who don't really draw themselves because it's not part of their repertoire. It's not what they focus on. It's not what they spend most of their time practicing, and stuff like that. They just like having characters and like seeing other people draw for them, and they want to have them in their stories. That's not a bad thing, and I highly encourage that, especially when you're, like, browsing stuff and you see a design that works perfectly for a character concept you have, or you just see a design and you really want it. Like, I had a speed paint a couple weeks ago with my character Echo, and her speed paint was all about how, the first part of the speed paint was all about how I wasn't intending to get her, and then I just fell in love with her, and I ended up thinking about it and putting some money down because I had some to spare, and I met a certain criteria that I myself set. But I feel really bad whenever I see some people struggling to figure out what to do with characters and then selling them because they don't have a story for them anymore. And not to say I don't do that either, because I do know I also sell characters that I don't use anymore. But I worry sometimes that people feel like they want to do something with this character, but they can't think of anything, so they're going to sell them even though they don't want to, because they just don't have a story for them. And this, I find, is a lot. It mostly happens with writers who don't draw themselves, but I feel like this video is a little bit, not necessarily useless, but very niche. And I don't know, I just want to talk about how, in my opinion, it's okay to have OCs that just exist to look pretty. It's okay to have OCs that just make you happy. I have a personal character who I don't really share with a lot of people, who I have spent over $4,000 on, I'd say. And they were an adoptable. I'm not going to talk about the details about it, but they were adoptable. I did spend quite a bit of money on the adoptable, the commissions, art that I've got of them. And I don't draw them. I don't really do anything with them. I sometimes just look at my gallery of art that I have of them and just enjoy it. But, I mean, a character isn't necessarily just for a story. A character design can just be there to make you happy, and isn't that what, like, a lot of this stuff is about? Making you happy and just enjoying, like, the design or enjoying the character themselves. Like, I'm sure it makes other people happy to have a story to go with them. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but it's also okay to not have a story. It's okay to have a character that you have just because you like drawing them, or just temporarily because you want something to draw, and then you pass them off to someone else when you're done with them, or you put them into storage when you're done with them, or you don't use them anymore. It's okay to have characters who just, like, exist for small, minor, possibly seen as petty reasons. Like, the personal character I just have them because they make me happy to look at. They got me through a big portion of my college years because I was depressed and I had no idea what to do with my money, and spending on something made me feel better, even though it wasn't really the smartest thing to do. But it made me feel better. It made me feel good to have this character that was all mine, and I spent money on, and I enjoyed looking at art of them and art other people drew of them and paying people to draw them. That made me happy. I have characters right now who I don't really have stories with them. Like, I have my character Ceres. All she is a goth witch, and I don't really do much with her. And she just exists because I like her aesthetic, and I like how she looks, and I like to draw her sometimes. And I have a bunch of characters right now who just exist because in case I have something I want to draw and there's a specific aesthetic I want to draw, I have them to draw in case I feel like drawing them. And maybe that's just me, but, you know, characters are, like, I don't want to be like, characters are your babies, you can do whatever you want with them, but, like, they are generally for one's personal, like, use, one's personal happiness. So, you know, it's okay to not have a story for a character because you don't have a story for them. You don't have to get rid of them just because you don't have a story. You can just enjoy looking at them. You can just enjoy the actual fact that you have them. Now, that's also not to say, I've also seen people who just, like, they don't feel a, like, big vibe with that character anymore, and I've felt that before. And I'm not talking about that. That's something that's, like, understandable, and, well, I don't necessarily agree with it, because what if you, like, get your, like, what if you, like, feel like that character again and then you don't have it? That's also, like, one of those weird extreme examples, and, like, if it, what's that, new show on Netflix, Marie Kon, the KonMari method of playing, like, does this spark joy? And if it doesn't spark joy, then, yeah, don't keep the character around, I suppose. Or, like, if you just have bad feelings associated with the character, don't keep that character around if it makes you feel bad. But also, don't let other people, in, like, an intentional way or otherwise, make you feel bad about your characters and how you use them and how you make them. You don't have to justify whether you have a story for your characters or not. You can just have them because you like the aesthetic. Have them because you really like this other character from a video game and they remind you of them, and you made a fan character to ship with them or something, or they're self-insert, or you like characters who have purple hair, so you have this purple-haired character. Like, you like cats, so you have a cat anthro character. It's not really too complicated in my opinion, but I don't know if that's like a hot take or anything, or whatever they call it. I'm not really one of those people who keeps up with the current, like, slang, but I don't really understand people's need that I've seen recently in some of my, some of the communities that I frequent to insist on having a story for their characters when it seems to me like they're clearly struggling to find some place to make them fit. Like, one thing that I currently regret is I really, really like super edgy, like, 2009 half demon, half angel, creepypasta sort of, kind of cringe type of characters. I love those characters. I don't really have a use for them in my stories. They don't really fit any of my other aesthetics. But, like, why can't I have a character like that if they just make me happy to have? Now, the reason I don't currently have one is I haven't found quite the right match of aesthetics for me yet. I'm still working on it. But you'll know. You won't know, but I can guarantee you guys, as soon as I can figure out the right set of aesthetics, for me personally, to have one of those edgy, sort of creepypasta, Jeff the Killer type of half demon, half angel OCs, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna have one. Because I love how they look, and their aesthetic makes me happy. And doesn't matter if they're not gonna fit in my story, I don't care. I just want to enjoy myself with the OCs sometimes, you know? But yeah. Hopefully that ramble wasn't too horrible in terms of, like, topic or making any sense. I'm kind of just talking off the top of my head just because I tried writing notes for this and I found it really difficult to actually do for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but my thoughts weren't aligning very well in terms of trying to figure out where this was gonna go. So I just decided to do it off the top of my head. Not that any of my other videos are scripted, but sometimes I try and make notes for topics. So I apologize if it's kind of all over the place, but I hope it sort of made sense. And I would love to elaborate on this more if you guys have more questions. So if you do have any questions or anything to add to the discussion, please feel free to leave those below so I can talk to you guys about it and engage with you guys, because I really want to talk to you guys about this sort of topic, and I really want to know what you guys think about it. But yeah, that is it for my speed paint, and I will send you guys to the outro.
Well, that's the end of this video. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, or contact me on any of my social media, which is linked in the description below. I also have my Patreon there if you guys want to throw a monthly donation at me. Thanks so much for your support. I'll see you next time. Bye!